Welcome back, everybody, to the Girl Be Selfish podcast. I am your host, Chanel McCord, CEO and Clinical Director of Oasis Wellness Group, and your favorite mental health speaker. I am so excited to be back with you all for another episode of the Girl Be Selfish podcast. Listen, if you have been tuning into the podcast, you know that the speakers have been fire. We started this podcast with all of the inaugural speakers of the Girl Be Selfish Anthology Project. And we've been talking to the authors and just going through all of the goodies that they have included. And listen, I am super excited because it's been phenomenal. And today I have another phenomenal author, as well as my sissy poo, who is on the podcast with us today. I am super excited and to welcome Brittnee N. Smith of Brittnee Smith Creative Company. Brittnee, introduce yourself to the people.
First, before I do that, I would just like to say it's about time. I am so excited to be here. I'm excited about this project. I'm excited about this movement. I am, as Chanel mentioned, I'm a brand strategist. I'm a graphic designer and web designer. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm an elder at my local church. I'm a mama. I was going to say a husband. I'm a husband. I'm a wife.
Mine as well.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm also a podcaster, and I'm excited to be here and super proud of Chanel for starting this movement because that's truly what it is. So excited to talk to you ladies today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on. I know today's podcast is just going to be phenomenal. You know, there's just certain people that you already know. The synergy is going to be there, and it's just going to be awesome. I'm excited that you jumped on the anthology project to be able to offer from your insights, your journey into self-care, and be able to talk to people, right? One of the things and putting this anthology together, as I talk to a lot of people about being a part of it, you know, people were just like, no, I don't necessarily fit because I'm not a wellness coach or I'm not a therapist or whatever the case is. So I love the fact as a graphic designer, as a brand strategist, right? As those things, it's just like, no, I have something from my standpoint to offer as well. Because I think that is the whole point of self-care, right? Like it's so dynamic. Like it's not set into a box. So I'm super excited for people to be able to get that specifically from you. So let's jump in here. Give us the Brittnee N. Smith definition of self-care.
So for me, self-care is, I don't know if this is going to be like, well, duh, but it truly is taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person who wears many hats,
Mm-hmm.
that truly is an art form in and of itself. I think that we sometimes try to get too creative and too, try to make it sound like something. Like literally take care of yourself. And for us, those of us who are in this boat, that's not as easy to do because we are taking care of everybody else's selves.
Come on.
Right. So literally in this season of life that I'm in with all the hats that I'm wearing, self-care truly is putting me first.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that the other things don't get done. It is just that my thing is going to get done first so that I can be in good enough shape to do the other things. So that's as basic as it can get. Self-care truly is taking care of yourself, whether that's in the things you enjoy, whether that's in your health, whether that's in your finances, whether that's in your mental health, like you first.
Yeah. You know, as you were talking, I was reminded of this actually goes back to the Rhythm of Life Women's Wellness Conference. You actually introduced me to the concept of rhythm over balance. I remember it was a while ago, there was a couple of years ago, you were reading a book, I think, and the author was talking about you can do things in rhythm and not balance. And as I started to like research that concept, it really resonated with me in such a deep way. Like I no longer believe that things can be balanced, but I believe that you can find your rhythm. Right. Which is why the conference came to be, helping women to understand that there's a rhythm. And so in your definition of self-care, I hear a rhythm. right? Not saying that you don't do all the things, not saying that you can't do all the things, but saying I got to do me first. That is the rhythm. The focus is, let me catch the rhythm of, okay, let me take care of me. Let me make sure that I'm good so that as I pour out, people are not getting sloppy leftovers, right? Because the
Yeah.
reality is we think because I'm moving and shaking and I'm taking care of the kids and I'm taking care of the husband and I'm serving in church and we think we're doing all these things and we haven't taken care of ourselves, not realizing that nothing and no one is getting the best of you.
Right. And I think that the mental health, growth, leadership community will appreciate this. That I liken it to the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Balance perpetuates the idea that there is a perfected state.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be the fixed way of looking at things. Like balance is there is a fixed, like
It's a
there's
perfect way.
you know what I'm saying? Whereas rhythm means that there's room for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Rhythm means, okay, my day didn't start off the way that I wanted it to. My self-care may not look the way I wanted it to, but I'm gonna do it this way instead.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Rhythm speaks to the flexibility that our lives require as the woman who is doing all the things.
Yeah.
And so I think rhythm also speaks to grace. And I think the book is called Rhythms of Grace, if I remember correctly.
Let me write that
Um,
down real quick because I
yeah,
might
it
have
was it was so good. It was so good. And I think that rhythm lends itself to a more gracious approach to life,
yeah.
and to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I like literally love the concept so much. And like I said, literally developed the conference around it. Like before, like at first that was just the theme for the first year.
Right.
And then after the first year, I realized no, like that's the conference, and we'll have
Yeah.
different themes in that
Yeah.
because there's a constant need to develop rhythm. You know what I'm saying? There's a constant need to remember. I love when you say, in terms of the fixed versus growth mindset, that this idea that things can actually be balanced.
Yeah.
That is not a reality of life. It is not a reality of life that you're going to find perfect balance and taking care of your children and taking care of the household and in different things. But rhythm gives me to permission to focus where I need to focus for that season, because
Yeah.
rhythm implies that there's a season of this, right? It doesn't mean necessarily like this is forever. No, but in this season, my rhythm is focused towards the kids got a lot of activities. And then so maybe next season, the rhythm is focused towards, oh, I got something big coming on with my business, right? And giving yourself permission to be able to lean into that. So I just love that idea and that concept. And like you said, self-care doesn't have to be spooky, spiritual, doesn't have to be all deep. It is simply taking care of yourself.
And you know what I'm thinking of? Like when we think of rhythm, we think of music, we think of a beat,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as long as you have rhythm, it don't matter what song is playing, you're gonna find your groove,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so exactly what you just said, the different seasons of life can represent different songs or different grooves.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
you can do the things.
You can make it happen.
You can make it happen and not feel overwhelmed. You can make it
Exactly.
happen and not be caught off guard
Yep.
because it's just like, oh, the next song's playing.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And so, I think that begs the question: where does your rhythm come from?
Right. Come on. You
Where
know,
does it come from?
it's funny you say that because that has always been my example that I use in music. And when I think about when you listen to different songs, there's certain aspects of the songs where the drums got it. But then maybe in certain parts, it's the vocals that takes the lead. But then
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, there's a flute on the song and the flute get their little part or whatever the case is, but nothing else in the background drops. It's not like the beat doesn't drop. It just means that one aspect is more pronounced in a moment, and this is the aspect that we're rocking out with, right? And so that's the same thing when it comes to self-care. It's not balance, it's just figuring out who got the beat at the moment. What has the beat at the moment? And once I recognize what has the beat at the moment, it gives me permission to fully lean into that. And
Yeah.
then when that beat is done, then I can settle back because now the drums got it, so to speak. So I love, love, love that. So
Yeah.
the question is on the floor: how does Brittnee N. Smith take care of herself?
Ooh. Okay, so caveat while we are on this healthcare journey.
Mm-hmm.
Part of self-care for me is eating some good food.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so I literally today, I just signed up for the Regal Unlimited membership because
Ooh.
I realized I like going to the movies by myself
Well,
with my popcorn and my Reese's Pieces.
well,
That's self-care
and when you mix
because
them together,
this hand and this
baby,
hand,
listen,
like literally, like I put the popcorn between my legs,
yeah.
I have my Reese's in this cup holder, and but that's self-care for me
Yeah.
because I'm alone, but I'm also like doing something with my mind, even if it's following a storyline of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we back. This is real life, and that's okay. So, Brittnee, you were talking about you enjoy going to the movie theater by yourself, having the popcorn, having the snacks, and that's your thing. And you were also mentioning how good food is a part of your self-care.
yes. So for me, I like to eat
Mm-hmm.
and I like to eat things that taste good because I like to
Tasting
enjoy.
there's a
I just
difference.
it ministers to you like in a real way.
Uh-huh.
So, but I think too, it's a part of the experience that, I like to be by myself.
Mm,
That's self-care for me. It's almost like I'm taking myself off of, out of life and putting myself on the charger.
mm-hmm.
And so whatever that looks like, that might look like my drive home and I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening to something that's soothing me or feeding me, or going out to eat by myself, or going to the movies by myself, or I just recently went, to a hotel and went to the spa by myself.
I love
And that, as an extrovert, people are like, really? You like to be alone? Because I'm with people all the time.
that part.
I'm with people all the time. And so that is a form of self-care for me. And it's also rest for me. Rest is not always sleeping, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is just watching a movie that your husband would not want to see, but you go see it by yourself anyway because you can,
What you want to
you
do.
know.
That's what you
Yeah.
want to. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Especially for, like you said, as a married person, there's this idea like, oh my goodness, like you don't do such things without your husband or whatever the case is. And it's not a disrespect, it's actually a help for my husband, right?
Right.
Because when I get alone time, when I'm able to lean in or whatever the case is, then I can show up as a better wife. And the other side of it is I encourage that for you too. The husband,
They won't do it though.
that part,
Can we talk about that?
that
Okay. I
part.
literally tried to send my husband away for his birthday for like 2 nights. Like, just get a hotel room, roam around the city. I'm good, boo. I'm trying to bless your life. Why? Like, if you would only experience it, one, you would be better for it. But then two, you wouldn't give
Right.
me a hard time when I try to go.
That part, because you'll know why I'm trying to go. But no, it's real, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's important in marriage. This is a very important distinction, because I often hear from time when I'm counseling, especially wives, I often hear it's hard for me to engage in self-care because then my husband feels like, oh, I'm pulling away or whatever. But I think part of the problem is you have to also give your husband permission to do his self-care thing too, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe for him it's not 2 nights away, maybe for him it's, give me a day to watch football all day or whatever the case is.
No, I told this man that I said, well, listen, because he wants a motorcycle, right? And he has a
No
motorcycle
motorcycle.
license. I mean, he has a license. I said, you know what? I gave up on that. Go rent a motorcycle for the weekend and go let the wind blow on in your hair and go ahead. Because I'm gonna go to the spa for 2 days.
I know it's right. I know it's
Okay.
right.
Like if that's what you need, get what you
Yeah.
need. Because
Yeah.
I know who I am when I practice self-care.
Yeah.
Like the
I,
person that everybody pulls on, that's the person that happens after self-care happens.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? And so
I
I
love it.
do myself and I do them a disservice by not practicing what keeps me at my best.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the plan of like, you got to plan intentionally, a husband and wife. I have a client I'm working with, and we've been talking about self-care and her getting in self-care. She has two young ones, they're twins. And, we've been talking about, okay, how do you get your self-care into different things like that? And so what her and her husband came up with, I absolutely love it. So every week, Saturday, she gets to sleep in until 10 a.m. and then she takes the kids and he gets free time until 5. And then on Sunday, they go to church, but he gets to sleep in until 10, and then he gets up and he takes the kids till 5. So they both get that day to sleep in, and then they both get a considerable chunk of time just to do them without
I
having
love
to
that.
be mom or having to be dad. And this is their rotation every weekend, barring something happens, but this is their rotation. And so far, so good. You know what I'm
I love
saying?
that.
And I'm like, wow, that's amazing to be able to work together as a team to find what
Yeah.
works for y'all, to make sure that we equally get the same amount of time. Let's make
Yeah.
it equal and give each other permission. So that way, because listen, then once you had your time, you good. I had my time, we good. Now we can come together and have our time and be good. Like, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
it's so real. It's so
Yeah.
real because I had to explain to my daughter, she's
Mm,
like, why do you have to go? Can I come with you? I won't ask you for too many things. And I'm like, mommy has to go.
mm,
No, mommy has to go and recharge her batteries. And when I come back, I'm gonna have all the energy for you.
mm-hmm.
And so she was like, okay. And she said, because we don't know when we're going to die, just don't die while you're away. Okay. And I'm like, I will try not to die. But when I came home, right, it was like, Mama! And I'm
Mhm.
like, kids, because I missed them after 2 days, and then we're jumping around with mommy, mommy. And it was like, that's why I need to go away. So I can come back
Yeah.
and be able to embrace the blessings that I have. Because when you stressed out, don't
Yeah.
it look like a blessing? None of it.
Nothing.
Not
Nothing.
my
And
husband,
you
not
don't
my
have
baby.
patience. You don't
No,
have patience. You don't have
no,
patience to deal with any of the things. So
at all.
I think that's awesome. Like having that rhythm of self-care. And I speak more spa weekends. Well, let me speak more personal spa weekends to yourself in the future. I speak that
Yes.
over you. Receive
Yeah.
it. Receive
Yeah,
it.
I do. I do.
Listen. So let's get into your chapter. Tell the people the name of your chapter.
The name of my chapter is Girl, Get Naked. Practicing authenticity is practicing self-care.
Let's do it. Let's get into it. Tell us about your
Yeah.
chapter.
So the funny thing is, this chapter, I was trying to figure out what angle I wanted to take
Mm-hmm.
with talking about self-care. And so ironically enough, I had that spa trip last weekend, right? And so the chapter kind of got inspired by my time away.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to this spa, and there's a part of the spa where the hot tubs and stuff are, and it's totally nude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if it's your first time going, you're kind of like, what? Like in America, like that's not the norm,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's something freeing about being naked in a
Mm-hmm.
room full of strangers who are also naked, and ain't nobody tripping.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Like,
whole word, man. That's
like
a whole
ain't
word.
nobody tripping. That there's tatas and everything flowing and swinging.
Everywhere.
Everybody's everybody's good. And
All
so,
kinds, all bodies.
no. And I
Like,
think that's a part of the freeing experience, because there's no judgment. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? With all the cellulite and all our
Mm-hmm.
imperfections, all of our differences, the different, like you said, body types, the different races, all of it. And we just in there, just naked. Naked. We're just naked. So I got into the hot tub. There was this other lady in there, and we just strike up a conversation. Because so what? We naked in a hot tub and we don't know each other, but it's
We
fine.
might as well talk.
We might as well. Because I mean, we're friends now. Like naturally, it just
Exactly.
happened. But the phenomenon is that both times I got in the tub, I met two separate women at two separate times. Both were moms, both
Mm,
had families at home. both had jobs, both needed to get away and just breathe.
Mm.
And I'm like, see, there's something happening because we're not alone in this thing.
Yeah.
We're not alone in this thing. And I don't know if I think one of them, this was their first time doing something like this for themselves. The other one has done it before. And I think a part of the authenticity piece is knowing what you need and
Mm.
then going to get that thing,
Mm.
not having any shame about, listen, I need a minute and I'm going to go and get my minute. Authenticity is knowing who you are, knowing what makes you tick, and embracing that, and then presenting it to other people so that they too can either embrace it or not, but you're
Mm.
still being okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to encourage these ladies, like, look, you deserve this. You're not a perfect mom. You're not a perfect wife. You're not a perfect employee, but you do deserve to have your cup filled.
Mm.
And that looks different for everybody. And
Yeah.
nobody can tell you how to fill your cup.
Nope.
They
Come
can't
on.
tell you. They
Come
can't
on.
tell you to like Coke if you're a Pepsi lover.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so the chapter really just kind of talks about knowing what authenticity looks like for you, one, and two, like we talked about earlier, self-care is really just caring for yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity is freedom, yo.
Yeah.
For you to be able to move, live, move, and have your being as you are
Right.
without, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Without apology,
Yeah.
without restriction, that's
Yeah.
freedom. And the
And
only
you
person
can't get any more authentic than being completely naked.
okay, because this
You
is
can't
me.
hide nothing.
This
You
is
can't hide
me.
nothing. And so
This is
when we
me.
think about that as a metaphor for life, you know what I'm saying? When you're completely naked, now it's like I ain't got no choice but to be me. Because I
That's
can't
it.
act like I don't have nothing covering nothing up. And so when I get emotionally naked, right? When I just get naked in
Yep.
life, like
Yep.
it's like now I can just be free to be me. Like
Yep.
whatever. You see the flaws, oh well, they're there, but that doesn't stop me from being who I am. And I also wanted to
Absolutely.
comment on how awesome it is for you that you went as the mom who needed a minute to get away and connected with two other moms who needed a minute and get away. Like you
Because
can't make that stuff up.
no, you cannot. We found each other
Exactly.
because birds of a feather truly do flock together. The other thing is, I could have went in there, y'all, and went like this.
Mm-hmm. And nobody would have blamed you. Nobody would have
No,
blamed
no,
you.
they
Right.
wouldn't have. Why? Because I was trying to get a break from being the poorer. But when you are created to do something, even while you're resting,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna pour.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And because I was in a rested place, I was glad to do it, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel like a burden. And
Yeah.
so I want to say this, that you are the only person that can give you the gift of authenticity, which is why
So
it's
good.
self-care. That's why it's
So
self-care, because nobody can give you that. Nobody can give you permission to be yourself more than you can give you permission
come
to be yourself.
on. Come
That
on.
is caring for yourself, because you're saying, self, I give you permission to be free.
Yeah.
And can nobody
Yeah.
give that or take it away.
Yeah. That's so good. That right there. If when you are listening to this podcast, whether you are watching it on YouTube or you are listening via all the podcast channels, listen to what Brittnee just said. Authenticity is the gift that only you can give to yourself. Nobody else can make you authentic. Nobody else can validate you in that way. That is something that has to come from the inside of you. And so, Brittnee, my question for you is because having watched your journey to this place of authenticity, right? What helped you to give yourself permission to be authentic?
Honestly, I think it was being tired of the effects of not being authentic.
Mm,
Literally, not being yourself is exhausting.
yeah.
And so,
All right, y'all. We keep having some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep on going because obviously something doesn't want y'all to get this information. So, Brittnee, you were telling us on how you gave yourself permission to be authentic.
yeah. So, I think it's one of those things where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, we as women tend to take on the roles and responsibilities that people sometimes impose on us.
Yeah.
And not realizing that you can say no, or you can say that doesn't align with who I'm trying to be, you know. And so my authenticity journey really truly started with somebody saying, what you're doing or how you're living right now is not really authentic to who you are. It's basically what she said. My pastor sent me a text and was like, hey, she sent me the picture, the girl on the right, this is where it all originated. She sent me a picture. There was 3 ballerinas. 2 of them are doing what they're supposed to do, pointing their finger, pointing their toes and stuff. And then the girl on the right was hanging upside down, like, yeah, like being herself. And so the caption said, be the girl on the right. And so her text message said, all of your life, you've been the girl on the right. And as life has begun to happen to you, you started to become the girls on the left. I want you to stay the girl on the right. And so that made me think, like, who was I and who have I become? And what do I need to do to get back to who I'm supposed to be? And so from there, it was just a constant checks and balances. Do I really like this thing, or am I just saying yes to it because I'm expected to? Do I really want to go, pursue college over here, my master's degree, or do I want to do it over here, or do I want to do it at all?
Right.
So I want us to think about all of the decisions that we make in our lives on a regular basis, that we make on the premise of somebody else thinks I should, as opposed to, do I want to, or is it even right for me?
Yeah. I think that's so good. Being free to, am I doing things out of the desires in my heart, out of what's already on the inside of me, or am I people pleasing? Because that's really what we're saying. Like, if we really want to be real, to no longer be the girl on the right, as you would say, it's because I'm people pleasing. I'm now trying to fit into a box. I'm trying to fit into a paradigm where everybody else will accept, or perhaps that I see that everybody else might celebrate. When the reality is, people are fickle, honey. Okay. And so you're the greatest thing since sliced bread today. And then by this afternoon, you are the worst thing in the world and you're being canceled. Like, that's just how it goes. So, and one of the things I work with my clients, and I tell my clients all the time, is that if I'm good here, anything anybody else provides for me is simply a bonus. If anybody bigs me up, if anybody hypes me or whatever, it's a bonus. But I'm not living for your hype. I'm not living for your validation, because Chanel is good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's good. The rhythm. That's the rhythm. That thing that you pointed to in here, that determines the rhythm. That's the rhythm. You have what you need on the inside of you to move how you need to move in every situation that comes your way.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So it's so good. And so that's what the chapter really is to highlight and encourage us to do, is to get naked, whether it is in the literal sense, because I said in the chapter too, like, so I was really a lot more comfortable than probably most of my friends and family. And I'm like, I don't know what that says about me, but I'm just like, hey girl, how you doing?
That part.
Because that's who I am, Chanel. That's who I am. And I don't come from that. I don't come from let it all hang out. I don't come from wear your heart on your sleeve. I don't come from, loud, boisterous personality. I come from refined, buttoned up, got it all together. That's what I come from. And what I'm learning is that having it all together looks different on me.
That's good.
Having it all together on me, you're going to get a song, okay, while I'm having it all together. You're going to get some laughter till I pee on myself. Like, that's
right.
That's who I am.
That's who you are.
That's who I am. And it took me a minute to get here. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that you would have felt that free if you would have went with somebody you knew?
So I think because there's levels to authenticity, right? I've gotten to a place within myself to understand that I also serve as a bridge or a safety blanket to people in certain situations. So even if I didn't feel as comfortable, there's something in me that would exude comfort so that they could be comfortable.
Okay.
You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I think that, and I think it also depends. Like if we were experiencing it for the first time at the same time, I think it might have been a little weird only because I never done it before. But the second time I went with my sister. And it was just like, well, we naked, like, you know, like it was just
right.
and I think that the atmosphere creates it such that because everybody else is naked and ain't nobody tripping, it automatically makes it more comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And I think too, if I'm honest, there's certain people I just wouldn't with.
I would like, I think that's what it is for me. Like my thought was, it really depends on who it is. Like, you know, there's certain people like I'm just not like, I'm just not doing it. But there's other people that who had, like, you're talking about authenticity, who may have embraced that freedom and authenticity too. And it's just like, well, here we are, girl.
And authenticity says that you need to know yourself enough to know who you can experience those things with. You know what I'm saying? Like there was one person that was like, oh, I think I might come to the spa that day too. And at first I'm like, yeah. And then when they said, no, I'm not gonna do it, I said, whew. Because I knew that I was going to have to accommodate their comfort. And so, yeah, like you also have to know who you can do what things with because you have to protect your peace. That's a part of protecting your peace, and that is self-care.
Yep.
So, not answering when certain people call is self-care.
Yeah. And so bringing back the symbolism, right? You're talking about being naked in the physical, but this is so huge for being naked in the emotional and spiritual too. You gotta know who you can be emotionally naked with, who can handle the capacity for what you have to share for. Like, you know, you have to know those things, because if you're naked with the wrong person, there's going to be so much embarrassment and humiliation that comes out of that. But when you're with the right people and when you have the right support system and you know that you could be naked with this person, like, honey, like we could be naked all day and it's not a problem.
You know what? I'm going to get biblical for 1 second.
Go ahead.
We were created to be naked.
Come on.
We were born to be naked. Like we're supposed to be by design naked.
Literally.
And so when we talk about mental and emotional nakedness, that is authenticity at its truest form. Where I can just be myself. I can say how I feel. I can cry. I can emote. I can do all the things. And I'm okay with you seeing me this way. And I'm not taking responsibility for how you perceive it and how you receive it and how you respond. That's nakedness. And why did we get kicked out? Well, because they ate fruit. But before that, when they ate the fruit, they said, oh, snap, I'm naked.
Yeah.
Right? And they covered up. So what fruit are you eating that is preventing you from being naked in every sense of the word?
Come on and preach on this podcast on here today.
Right? We're eating the fruit of other people's opinions.
Oh,
we're eating the fruit of things that we did in our past. We're eating the fruit of expectations that we ain't never going to live up to because somebody else way over there set them.
Oh my.
And so because of all this fruit, we out here like, oh, gotta cover up my flaws, gotta cover up my blemishes because.
Listen, that's gonna preach all day, every single day. We were supposed to be naked.
We were always supposed to be naked.
We were never supposed to be covered.
We was born this way. I was born naked.
Listen, covering up was a punishment for sin. Covering up, the cover up was a punishment.
It was a punishment for sin, but it's a punishment that we put on ourselves.
Exactly.
Because God didn't tell them to cover up.
Yeah.
They ate the fruit and they was like, oh, snap.
I'm naked.
I'm
Exactly.
naked. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, and so it's y'all need to get the book.
No, listen. I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, like so many nuggets that's coming out of this. And it's funny because every author that I meet with, right, it's like, oof, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so I'm so excited just to see once everything comes together,
Yeah.
and just seeing the fluidity. Because what's also happening, it's so funny, most of y'all don't even know each other, and
Yeah.
most of y'all got some of the same stuff. Like it's almost like God is like, yep, you're gonna say this, you're gonna say this, you're gonna say this, you're gonna say this. And I believe in God that as the chapters come together, that the chapters are coming together in such a way where they're just gonna flow.
Oh
You're gonna
yeah.
learn to get naked, and then the next
Oh
person gonna
yeah.
talk about why you shouldn't be covered. Like you know what
Naked
I'm
with no
saying? Like,
regrets.
listen, all of it, all of it. So I am super excited. So really quickly, what's one thing out of your chapter that you want the people to know?
One thing out of my chapter that people need to know. Oh, there's so many things. You just have to get the book. So I think one takeaway would be to understand that you're not the only one experiencing what you're experiencing, and being willing to be a support to those that you see who still need to get naked.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I did. I saw in conversation, I saw that they needed this naked moment. And I think even further, being able to process the nakedness with another person that gets it. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? So there's community in your being authentic, because now you get to help somebody else be more authentic.
yeah.
So I would say, as you get naked, encourage your sisters around you to also get naked so y'all can be naked together.
I love it. And there you have it, folks, from Brittnee N. Smith herself. Get naked with everybody around you. No, I'm playing. But listen, it's so good. Brittnee, thank you for sharing that. And what I love when there's a real life moment that gives you the inspiration, because you write from a different place, right? You
Yeah.
tell your story from a different place. So I love that you had like this real life moment that kind of inspired for you, like, okay, yeah, there's something to this getting naked thing and this being naked thing. So thank you for that. Listen, y'all, I've been saying this every podcast, and like y'all gotta get tired of me saying it by now. You need to go get the book. I need you to go to Amazon.com right now and look up Girl Be Selfish and go ahead and order your copy today. I promise you it's going to be life changing. We got 21 authors who are telling
Ooh.
amazing stories. This amazing stories, not only about their self-care journey. We have some who coming from a professional standpoint, some that's coming from a standpoint of their family, some that's coming from a standpoint of things that they've experienced personally. And it has been life changing so far. You need to go to Amazon.com, get the book, and make sure that you leave a review. Let us know how much you love the book, because listen, like we said, this is not just a book, this is not just a podcast, but this is a movement. We are starting a movement off of this. So you're going to be hearing so much more about the Girl Be Selfish movement. We have a Girl Be Selfish summit coming in October, a virtual summit. Like, it's just gonna be dope, y'all. Like, I am super excited. It's gonna be dope, and you're gonna want to register for the Rhythm of Life Conference 2025 next year. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Listen, you're gonna want to register because it's going to be life changing, and we're going to continue to build off of this idea. So, Brittnee, thank you again so much for being our next guest on the podcast. Let the people know how they can reach you.
You can find me at BrittneeSmithCreative.com, Brittnee N. Smith on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places, and the Brittnee Smith podcast. If you are a podcast person, check me out.
Yes. Make sure that y'all listen to the podcast. Oh, Brittnee, real quick, you got some other books. Tell them about your other books.
Oh snap! Okay, so I kind of alluded to this one. My very first book was Girl on the Right, and again, it's just my journey of authenticity.
Mhm.
My second book was Ditch Fear, the Ditch Fear Journal, where we were talking about ditching fear and taking flight in our lives. It's a guided journal around that. Then my third book was Brand New Day, And it's basically talking about how, because, okay, so authenticity is my thing, y'all. Like, I am going to cry authenticity and Jesus until I die, right? And so Brand New Day is true. It's a 30-day reader that kind of helps you authenticate, be your most authentic self in 30 days. And it kind of just gives you different things to think about and chew on, and ask you those questions like, do you really like going there, or do you just do it because you've always done it? So that's the third book, and then Girl Be Selfish will be my fourth publication.
Come on, four-time author. Come on with the 4 books. Listen, I'm trying to catch up to you. Listen, y'all, make sure that you connect with Brittnee. All of her information will be in the show notes. You'll be able to find her. But Brittnee, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I hope for everybody listening, I hope that you got something major out of this, something to help you to live a more authentic life. Make sure that you continue to stay on top of your self-care. And until next time, as I always say, stay selfish. Talk to you guys later. Bye, family.